Finally, we exist. This is the podcast that talks about men's and women's sports equally. We'll talk about the big games and we'll sprinkle in a little trash talk here and there. And we will confront the inequality of sport. Finally wants to thank our sponsor, HelloFresh. Forget takeout. HelloFresh delivers all the ingredients for delicious, healthy meals that anyone can prepare at home in less than 30 minutes. Go to hellofresh.ca and use promo code ANTICA50 to get 50% off your first order. We are produced by Homestand Sports. Check out homestandsports.com for more news and check out some of our podcasts and upcoming events like Hoop Talks, Puck Talks, and Pitch Talks. Today is all about the Bees, basketball, broadcasting, and Bell Let's Talk Day. My guest, Meghan McPeak, is the Raptors 905 play-by-play commentator and TSN Radio 1050's host of Raptors pregame, halftime, and postgame shows, and co-host of Home Court with Duane Watson. Ooh, that's a mouthful. She's also a fitness guru with some serious workout swag. She does it all, but her experience in sport comes with ups, downs, and with more life lessons than anything. And people starting out in broadcasting need to know about it. Hey Meghan, so it sounds like you've had a pretty busy day with Bell Let's Talk Day and covering the 905 game today against the Texas Legends, which was a win, of course.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at today, as you mentioned, they played the Texas Legends. First game outside of the showcase. They are now 19-7, I believe, on the season. And then they'll head out for a game Friday in Westchester, New York, to take on the Knicks. So in the second season, they're doing pretty good, I would say.
What is it about this team that's so different? Is it the coaching that has changed the game, or that they're more comfortable, the core players like Axel Toupon and who else? DeLon Wright, who's finally back. And they have a good little core from last season, that they're finally comfortable in taking charge with the team.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's the coaching. When you look at Jesse Mermis, who was the head coach last year for the 905 in their inaugural season, and is now an assistant with the Los Angeles Lakers. And then you look at Jerry Stacker, who's coaching this season. They're both coaching styles are very different. They're both about player development, but they both coach it very differently, having two very different personalities. But they're both coaching it within the system that Coach Duane Casey and the Toronto Raptors organization wants. So I think it's more or less, it's almost like a D-League unwritten rule, if you will say, that expansion teams typically don't do the greatest in their very first year. It's been synonymous with the D-League that it happened. So for them to do as well as they did last year, they came on really hot at the end of the season versus this year they've had a really great start. I think it's just now that the organization and the coaches and they're figuring everything out. It definitely helps to have guys like Axel Toupon back, as you mentioned. EJ Singler is back. He was on the team to finish out last season. John Jordan is another one who was on the team last year to finish out the season. He was picked up right at the All-Star break and then went on to be the 2016 All-Star D-League dunk champion. So to have a couple of guys, and of course, too, DeLon Wright, who's finally back from injury, it definitely helps because they're familiar with the system that Coach Casey runs and what Coach Mermis ran last season. So I think it's a mixture of just players and then just familiarity with being in the D-League in its second season. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that sounds about right. You know, all the ingredients are finally, baking at the right time, and it's making a nice little loaf of bread or a cake in the oven that you can see like it's got potential, like this is gonna taste really good. I'm not talking about basketball tastes good but I mean, I love baking, so I had to slip it in there.
But banana bread and chocolate cake.
Oh my gosh, that is my number one. Black Forest, if you make a chocolate cake and turn it to a Black Forest cake. But that's for a different podcast. But you mentioned the D-League showcase, and you played a pretty big part with that all last week. Have we had any nibbles for any 905 players that scouts from other NBA teams have expressed interest for?
Nothing that's been official or confirmed. Just my own personal opinion, kind of how this team has played as of late, and then the way they played in the showcase. I believe, like over their 2 games in the showcase, they averaged 123 points, which is crazy to think. But I think when you look at the team, Axel last year after the showcase got back-to-back 10 days and then was kept on by the Nuggets. Greg Smith was picked up on 10 days with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I wouldn't be surprised if Axel got another 10-day opportunity. Whether it comes very soon or in a little bit of time, that wouldn't surprise me. Depending on if any teams are looking for some backup bigs or even just a typical big man, Eddie Tavares, who's the 7'3" center for the 905, wouldn't surprise me if he got a call-up or got any inquiries. Another player is the potential is possibly a Will Sheehy. He's at Indiana University. He's really like a Swiss Army knife. Does a little bit of everything. He's got a really good shooting stroke. Has picked up the shooting stroke actually in today's game versus Texas. Has struggled a little bit with the shooting stroke. However, he does have the ability to really light it up. But he gets called upon to, defend against the second or third best offensive player for the opposing team. He is a willing passer, a very great defender, a very great passer. He as well, too, is a crazy rebounder for the position that he plays. So it wouldn't be surprised if maybe not getting a full 10-day, but maybe getting some interest or some conversations being had. Any one of the guys on this 905 team really have the potential to have the conversations being had by scouts about them. Another one is CJ Leslie. But I think it also comes into play of what teams are looking for. So if it comes to it where the 905 doesn't have any players that get called up, it could simply be that teams are just not looking for the players that the 905 has, unfortunately, and they're looking for something different. So I don't think if nobody from the team gets called up, I don't think that's a knock on the players or the coaching staff. I think it just could be what the league and the NBA and what teams and scouts are looking for at that particular time.
And you're right, the 905 does have a pretty solid balance of big men and shooters and guys that can run and cut through the paint and, score under the basket. But you mentioned my favorite player in the 905, Eddie Tavares. He is the silent killer. He doesn't say a word on the court, but I swear to you, he will push you out of the way. All 7 feet of him, he will get a basketball and he'll probably growl at you maybe. That's all that you'll hear from him, but he's so quiet but so aggressive on offense and defense. I love it.
Eddie's great. He's a man of few words, but when he needs to get vocal, he definitely can.
And you would know because you cover them every game. And in that D-League showcase, what was the highlight for you?
I mean, it's going to sound super cheesy, Natalie, but honestly, just being part of it. The fact that 905 got to host it, it was the first time it was hosted in Canada. Obviously, with 905 being the only Canadian-based D-League team affiliate. The fact that, the city of Mississauga and the Toronto Raptors and the Raptors 905 organization as a whole got to put on this event in only their second season in the D-League, which is absolutely phenomenal. And the fact that they decided they were going to take a chance and make a bid for it, and the bid went through and was successful. And in year 2, you're hosting really the marquee prominent event for the National Basketball Development League. It's not something that you can really fathom. So the fact that they were able to host it and put together a very, very great event, it was absolutely fantastic from start to finish. I mean, it wouldn't be an event if there wasn't a couple bumps in the road. They had, a power surge and an issue with the mesh on day 4. But at the same time, they got through it with not crazy delays, and they were able to still bounce back very quickly and put on a phenomenal event. And I really think just, talking with different people who were in attendance, whether it was international scouts or NBA people, D-League front office, or, scouts or what have you, even fans, everyone had nothing but positive things to say about the event and about the showcase as a whole. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was back again next year or very soon in the next couple of years. It was a very, very good event, and I think the Hershey Center was a great place to have it and a great host arena. So as cheesy as it is, it was just the fact that I was able to be part of the fact that Mississauga was hosting it and the fact that Mississauga did host it. Super cheesy and super cliche, but that's really my favorite part of it.
Dude, the cheese factor is going at like a solid 10 right now after that answer. But you're right. It's very possible that Mississauga could host it next year. The Santa Cruz Warriors hosted it 2 years in a row all the way in California.
Right.
So it's very possible.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of have that in your back pocket. Like, well, you can't say that teams can't host it back-to-back seasons because, as you mentioned, Santa Cruz put on a great showing for the past two, and now the 905 put it on this year. But yeah, as cheesy as it is, I mean, it's just working with different people. So I got to work with Dave Resnick, who does the Westchester games, Kevin Dana, who does the Santa Cruz games, Kalena Ondabuki, who actually is a former D-League player who experienced the showcase. He's been in the D-League. He went through the showcase. He got his 10-day call-up, and then he played, I believe he said 7 seasons in the NBA. So he has hit every step of what the D-League and the NBA as a whole want this D-League to be about. So being able to work with him as well, too, was really great. So that would probably be a close second on my list of my favorite things about the showcase and being part of it.
Well, I mean, if you need somebody to talk about basketball, you're not going to find anyone better besides yourself that's been there, right? And
Exactly.
Of course, if you can't shut up about basketball.
Exactly, especially too when you have a player who literally knows exactly what these players are experiencing in the moment and have experienced in the moment. So yeah, his call-up story is actually like one of the funniest I've ever heard. Long story short, went out New Year's Eve with friends, nothing, crazy or anything. Got home, forgot to put his phone on the charger. His phone died in the middle of the night. He wakes up to like 100 missed calls, some crazy voicemails from his mom. You're gonna miss your 10-day. This is the opportunity you've been waiting for. Calls people back, calls his agent back, and then he didn't miss it. He ended up getting the call up and was playing for the Golden State Warriors back when Baron Davis was playing. So, as crazy as the New Year's could have been, like, what way to ring in New Year's, right? Like, happy 2007, Kalena. Like, you got a call up to the NBA.
Literally, New Year, new me.
Right? Exactly. Like hashtag New Year, new me.
Seriously. And he's got quite the story by the sound of it, but you also have quite the story in how you've gotten to the point of being the play-by-play for the 905, the first woman play-by-play commentator in the D-League, let alone in professional basketball in Canada. Like, what is your story to getting to where you are right now?
Well, I know you're familiar with it, Natalie. Being a fellow Humber alum, I always got to get my shout-outs in when I can.
We'll be shouting out.
I mean, playing basketball my entire life, wasn't really sure where it was going to take me past high school, if it was going to take me anywhere. Went to Fanshawe my first year in London, ended up transferring and playing for Coach Denise Perrier, one of the premier coaches in the OCAA and the CCAA at the time, and a former Humber alum herself in the Hall of Fame for Humber athletics. And, originally the funny thing is I wanted to, be a sports and conditioning coach or a trainer for a basketball team, whether it was college or NBA or WNBA, what have you. And that, unfortunately, just wasn't working for myself. And, Doug Fox, former athletic director at Humber, one day in his office, I had to make a decision because I wasn't going to go back to the fitness program I was in. And it was either radio broadcasting or interior design. And I kid you not, and you can check with Doug yourself and find out if this is true or not. In his office, he kind of sits there and, we're figuring out what I'm going to take. And he looks at me and says, you know what, Megan? you don't shut up, you should take radio. And it was probably the best decision I have ever allowed someone else to make for me, because as you mentioned, became the first female play-by-play announcer in the D League and in Canadian men's pro basketball. I host with TSN 1050 doing Raptors pregame and post and halftime, which is absolutely awesome, alongside Duane Watson. And we also co-host a show on Saturdays on called Home Court on TSN 1050 as well. So, yeah, I mean, calling games at McMaster right after I graduated from Hummer in April 2009. In January, that January, I was calling games for McMaster men's and women's basketball games. Did that for 4 seasons, you know, really got my feet wet, and then was doing play-by-play for the National Basketball League of Canada with the Brampton A's, who are now the Orangeville A's. I did that for 2 seasons, and in the last season with Orangeville, then Brampton, is when NBA TV approached me, and that opportunity came and evolved into what it is now, with me being in my 2nd season in the D League.
Girlfriend, that is just so inspirational to listen to. And I can just picture Doug, mustache and all, sitting down in probably one of the same chairs I've sat down in his office, telling you, Meg, you don't shut up. Like, I can totally picture it coming from the great Doug Fox. Isn't it so important to have a mentor that has been there or can at least recognize the kind of skills that you have?
It's so important, Natalie, and it's not just, I wouldn't say it's just important for women in this industry, because as you mentioned, it's such a male-dominated industry, not just sports media or sports entertainment, but just the sports industry as a whole, whether it's the media side, the PR side, front office, coaching. It's very heavily male-dominated, but at the same time, male or female in the sports industry, or really in any industry that you go after for your career, I think having a mentor is so important, because there's been times where, and I'll be honest, there's been times where I've thought about it, like, is this really, am I stuck out? Am I cut out to do this for the rest of my life, when there's, you know, the tough times of nothing's really happening for you, and you go for interviews but nothing comes out of it, and you know what I mean? And I know you've experienced it yourself most likely, and everybody, especially in the media industry, really experiences it, going for all these interviews, applying for jobs, and nothing really coming out of it. So having a mentor, it's so important. And like you mentioned Jerry, he was very instrumental very early on in my career, even still while I was at Humber. Paul Jones, while I was still at Humber, was very instrumental early on in my career. Sherman Hamilton, Matt Devlin, Leo Rounds have been even Jack Armstrong gives me pointers from time to time. They've been instrumental very recently in my career. And then on the other side, like I look at it, I've been able to connect and network with some really amazing people even south of the border. LaChina Robinson, who is very heavily in the women's NCAA and WNBA, and is essentially turning into like the spokesperson for women's hoops south of the border. She's been very instrumental in mentoring me. Roz Gold-on-Woode, who a lot of people will recognize as a sideline reporter for the Golden State Warriors. It does work with TNT and NBA TV in the States as well. And just like people up here, Duane Watson, he's not only, it's crazy, he's not only my co-host on 2 shows, he's like one of my like best friends, as well as a mentor for me, not just like on the career business side of it, but just in life as well too. And I mean, I wish I could name every single person that I've been able to connect with and get advice from start to finish to where my career is presently. But I mean, there's a lot of people I'm not mentioning, but there's so many people that if I can't go to, for example, if I can't go to Roz, I can maybe go to Duane, or if I can't go to Duane, I could maybe go to Jonesy or Sherm or Devlin. Even Beth Mowens, who herself, she's one of the only female play-by-plays for men's college football, if not the only female play-by-play announcer for men's college football in the States. Get advice from her. She's a female in a very male-dominated sport and a very male-dominated role, especially in the sport of college football. So I would say to any any young student, whether high school or college, any young professional that's, entry level or just starting out, just graduated, having a mentor is an important thing to have in your back pocket and in your corner, because when it gets tough, and it will get tough, believe you me, when it gets tough, you will definitely want to lean on someone who's in your corner cheering you on so that you potentially don't make a career-ending mistake of walking away from a career that you love and you want, but the timing just might be off right now. And that mentor could keep you on track and keep you on your path to, for example, where I am today. I could have easily just not gone to Jerry or not gone to Jonesy or Sherm or Duane or LaChina and Rods and gotten that advice, and I am today. Even Doug, I could have not taken his advice, and who knows, I might be an interior designer with a not so successful design firm.
And every room that you designed would have one of those basketball hoops on the wall that you can just shoot the mini basketball into. That would be your calling card. Throughout that answer, just nodding my head in agreement. It's such a tough industry. It's almost like Hollywood. The more that I'm into it, I understand that you get a lot more failure than you do success. And it's all about how you handle that failure. And it's actually a great topic to talk about on Belle Let's Talk Day, because it takes a toll on you mentally. You're so doubtful of your skills and whether or not you should change and whether or not you should stick with what you want to do. And how did you cope with the sense of failure when things weren't going your way?
I'm lucky enough that I was able to take what my mentors were telling me, the advice I was given, and stay the course and not really give up and not necessarily fail, but essentially use the thought of potential failure or not ending up doing what I love as motivation to keep going after it. Because again, like I said, enough when times got tough and things weren't really going my way. I might not be calling Raptors 905 games currently, and I might not be doing pregame, halftime, and postgame for the Toronto Raptors on TSN 1050. So as easy as it could look to want to give up when times get rough, those times when it's rough are actually the best times, because they're the most challenging, and that's when you will show yourself and people who might doubt you that you can do it and that you should do it.
And you learn the most during those down times.
100%.
Like, it's an opportunity to pick out what you think you can improve on and take the time to focus on that while you have the time and you're in between what you think you could be doing and talking to people. And it really takes a lot of guts, because it takes guts to send out an email and reach out to someone that you may have never met before in your life, and just to say, like, hi, this is what I want to do. Like, is it possible that we can chat or have a coffee and let me hear what you've done and how you got to this point? Like, it takes guts. And I feel like people in our industry, or even kids that want to do what you do, or be a sideline reporter, or be an anchor at on a television show, like, we need to lay it out for them that it takes a lot of guts and a lot of steps to get to where people end up and where you see them and they're recognizable.
100%.
Do you have any other advice? Like, for example, like, you make me think of a book that Christina Rutherford from Sportsnet wrote, and it's called Level the Playing Field, and it's about bringing awareness to the past, present, and future of women's sports. And it's meant for kids. It's meant for kids and to be in an elementary school library. And I can just think of, like, a little kid watching you, or watching someone like LaChina doing college basketball or the WNBA, and thinking, that's what I want to do. But there's not an obvious path to getting to that point. Is there any other pointers that you can think of that we may have missed?
Go for it. Seriously, like, that's as cheesy and as cliche as that sounds. Go for it. If you think that's what you want to do, go for it. If you want to be a doctor, go for it. If you want to be a lawyer, go for it. If you want to be a neuroscientist, if you want to try and cure brain cancer or MS, go for it. If you think that that's what you want to do for a career and you have the passion for it, then go for it. Because at the end of the day, the only person on planet Earth and in this world that can stop you from going after what you want is you.
Amen.
We're our biggest cheerleader, and we are our biggest doubter and hater. I could care less what someone says about me on Twitter if they say anything. I can easily just mute them or block them or turn it off or not look at my phone. Same with any type of social media, or a caller that might call in, or someone who emails the station and complains. I could care less what they say. But as long as I am my biggest supporter, I will be successful. If I'm my biggest hater, my biggest doubter, bring me down, because if you self-doubt yourself, then who's to say that the people on social media won't bring you down even more? So I would say go after whatever it is you want and be your biggest supporter. Be your biggest critic, because you're the only person that can tell you no and stop you from doing what you want.
Honestly, preach it. You are the only one in your way.
Exactly, 100%.
And another thing that I've noticed that you're very big into now is fitness. And I want to know, how has your lifestyle change of being very fitness focused changed the way that you work and you live and you're able to do all the things that you do?
With fitness, just trying to get back into shape after, taking a few years off being a former college athlete, and, kind of that hiatus of that post-college time, and just having to deal with some health issues that I found out in the last probably year, dealing with a naturopath, and she was able to finally figure out what was going on with me. Shout out Dr. Tamika Hamlet. Woo woo. She found out what was going on with me. She was able to give me a regimen of vitamins and supplements that would be able to be figured out with my body and all that jazz. And that, coupled with working with my trainer Marcus Patrick, another shout out, with him, and then just making sure that my dieting was on point as well, to go with the fitness and the naturopathic advice and guidance that they both gave me. Has completely changed my mood, my energy. I'm sleeping a lot better, which is amazing. And obviously, given the type of industry we're in, essentially with being a commentator and being a host, you can essentially look at it as I'm an entertainer. So I need to make sure my energy's always up and my personality's there, and I'm not sort of lethargic and tired all the time. So fitness has sort of been a really great addition to my regimen of making sure I'm taking care of myself. And it's sort of like that hour a day that I get where I know I'm just there to focus on me, nobody else. I take my phone and I actually just give it to Marcus, and unless there's specific people that he knows that if I get a phone call or a text message from, not to give me my phone. Other than that, the only other time that he usually takes my phone out and actually lets me use it is actually him using it to take any video footage or pictures of me actually doing these workouts. Because by no means am I a fitness guru or anything, but I mean, you never know what one of my posts might help. It could help someone who is struggling with fitness, and it might be a little motivation for them, or they might like what they see and just want to, I kind of want to get into it. If she did it after a few years, maybe I can too. And I kind of look at it in that way of, if I can motivate or inspire one person in my lifetime, then I'm okay with that, whether it's by what I do as a career or in the gym and stuff like that. If I can inspire one person in my lifetime, whether it's through my career, through fitness, doing these little posts that I do. I don't do them every single workout. But I mean, if I can inspire just one person, then I mean, that's awesome, because that's one more person that is trying to go after what they want, whether it's career or, try and fit in that cute little dress for a wedding, or fit into a sweet pantsuit that they might want to buy, or what have you. So, I mean, at the end of the day, an hour a day that I enjoy. And probably my favorite thing is it's like a love and a hate relationship with squat day.
That's the best
and
day.
deadlift day. I have a love-hate relationship with my squats and my deadlifts. But I mean, I have a blast. And at the end of a workout, when I get told that we get to put the gloves on and I just like wail on them, it's pretty fun. Especially, there's one possible incident that I almost punched him in the face, but he got out of the way pretty quickly.
Totally intentionally unintentional.
I just, I added in an extra punch, and luckily his face didn't get in the way because it was like a millimeter away from getting in the way.
Ruh-roh. Well, hey, I love that you get down and dirty. You show that squat rack who's the boss. You have to. You have to just like, okay, listen, you and me, we're going to go at it right now, but I'm going to kick your ass right now, okay? You're not going to kick mine, and I love it.
Exactly.
Awesome. It's all about being strong mentally and physically, and being strong physically does lead to being strong mentally and more at peace with yourself down the road. And it impacts everything from the way that you enjoy your life to how you work. And it's just a great thing to talk about on Bell Let's Talk Day, because there's so much that goes into how a person feels, and there's many different ways to get out of it and to help yourself and to help others. And I love what you do, and I love how you exude the joy that you have, because it's an inspiration for other people to say that I can do it too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problemo. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Good luck with not freaking out with the Raptors game tonight. I know you're not working it, so enjoy being a fan.
Thank you. It's tough to be a fan anymore now that I've sort of put the broadcaster's hat on. It's tough, but from time to time I can still turn it on a bit. Thankfully, Norm gave me a little action with his crazy wild dunks last night against the Spurs. So I was a little bit of a fan with Norm on the floor last night. So that was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, see, there's the silver lining to DeMar being injured.
Exactly.
Alrighty, we'll let you go. Thank you, and talk soon.
Thank you so much for having me, Natalie. I appreciate it.
Okay, likewise. Thank you for listening to Finally. Don't forget to check us out at homestandsports.com. And you can find me on social media at Nat_Stoberman. Finally was brought to you by HelloFresh. Delicious healthy food delivered for you to make in your own kitchen. Use the promo code Antica50 for 50% off your first box, courtesy of your friends here at Antica Podcast Network and HelloFresh. And I'd love to hear your comments and thoughts on today's show, so please give us a rating on iTunes. See you next time.